What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to another True Raider podcast. Man, I don't know if you guys are like me. Like today, I don't know if I got some stomach bug or if I got food poisoning or what's going on. So I ended up calling in to work and, just sitting here. Um, I was just scrolling, right? And I was just looking at what's going on with the nation, what's going on with draft news, and I'm seeing like nothing, like almost no videos going on, man. And so, I just kind of decide, what? I guess I'm going to go ahead and go live. I don't go live very often, and honestly, I don't have a ton of stuff pre-planned to talk about all this stuff. I just figured if you guys are like me and you're sitting here and you're just, anxious for the draft and just can't wait for tomorrow, that you might want to hop on with me, and give me some of your feedback, let me know what's going on in your mind. Because I want to hear from you, the nation, right? Because this really what this video is all about is what is it that you guys want to do in the draft, right? What would you love to see? We could talk about dream scenarios. We could talk about like, okay, I'm getting a more realistic view, and this is what I'm looking at now. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started off with talking about this article that I saw on Heavy, right? And Heavy, it sometimes is a little hit and miss, but this article really it stood out to me. What is going on here? Sorry, I'm having issue right now. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not being able to share the screen, so I will just go ahead and read the article to you guys. Give me a second. Yo, I'm having some issues on my computer. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article, right? And it's from Heavy. It says Star QB's dream world is playing for the Raiders report, right? So it says the Las Vegas Raiders don't appear to have an avenue to land LSU's Jaden Daniels in the draft. The team has been eyeing the quarterback this offseason due to his ties to head coach Antonio Pierce, but signs point towards the Washington Commanders drafting him at number 2. While the Raiders reached out to the Commanders about a possible trade, they were turned away. That's going to be disappointing news to Daniels, according to Athletics' Diana Rossini. The quarterback wants to be in Las Vegas, but isn't going to refuse to play for the Commanders. Since the visit with the Commanders, league sources have said Daniels has told people in his dream world he could reunite with Las Vegas Raiders coach Antonio Pierce, who was an assistant coach at Arizona State during Daniels' time with the Sun Devils, or play under Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, Rossini wrote in an April 24 column. The belief around the league is the Commanders and Daniels will get past this bogey, and he's expected to be the team's QB of the future. But also watch for the Commanders to use one or some of their second day picks to move back into the first round to get another starting caliber player. Peters calls it optionality. So this article goes on further to say there have been very few instances of players refusing to play for the team that draft them, and Daniels is unlikely to be the latest. The Raiders will almost certainly have to look at other options. And really, like, that's really what's going on, right? Is that Raiders are going to have to look at other options. There's very, very slim chance that Jaden Daniels falls past number 2. And then there's an opportunity to trade up with the Patriots. I believe if he does fall to number 3, that we're going to just throw the farm at him. And that's what it looks like because Tom Telesco already tried to trade up to number 2 and it didn't go well. Right. And so I have a feeling that he would go ahead and take that shot at number 3, whether we are the highest bidder or not. Time will tell. So Jane Daniels is willing to play for Washington Commanders. Jane Daniels wants to play for the Raiders, but they are not the only team he'd be willing to play for. He recently decided to clear the air and reiterate that he's open to playing in Washington. I'm blessed to go wherever I'm called, Daniels said during his April 24th media availability. Whoever calls my phone when the commissioner gets up and says my name, I'll be blessed and they're going to get my all. This is good news for Washington, which is a team that is in desperate need of a quarterback. The 2023 Heisman Trophy winner may have been the number one pick in many other years. The Commanders have been one of the worst franchises in the NFL for several years, but are under new ownership. Daniels has to hope that Josh Harris represents over Dan Snyder. Let's see. So, Las Vegas Raiders trying to trade up. Though the Raiders won't be getting Jaden Daniels, it's unclear if they'd be willing to trade up for another quarterback. According to Diana Rossini, the team has been active in trying to move up. The Raiders have made calls to teams that appear open for business, including the Commanders. But keep in mind, new GM Tom Telesco doesn't have a history of trading up in drafts, Rossini wrote. Las Vegas needs a quarterback, and many teams have been mocking the Raiders landing Michael Penix with their pick at number 13. It remains to be seen if the Raiders like Drake May or JJ McCarthy enough to move up. If not, they could stay at number 13 and consider Washington's Michael Penix Jr. The team could also skip quarterbacks altogether this year and hope that they have a better chance of getting one next year. So what do you guys think of this article, man? I mean, they told me you were dying, bro. Okay. I have a feeling that's somebody from my work, man. And yeah, I'm not in good shape, man. Dr. AKMD. Let me see. I don't know what's going on with my tab right now. I'm not being able to get off of share screen. And I don't really know why. It's messing me up. If you guys can hear me clearly, let me know in the comments, man, because I'm really struggling to get this thing off of my screen and it's wigging me out, honestly. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think of this article. You know, I mean, heavy.com, they've been known to put out some pretty accurate things. They've also been known to put on some kind of weird articles that, you know, I wasn't really too pumped about. But yeah, I mean, really what it looks like to me is that Jay Daniels is probably going to be off the table, right? Commanders probably don't want to move off that number 2 pick because they're probably going to get Jaden Daniels. Honestly, he's the best quarterback for them to choose at the number 2 spot. If they were to take Drake May or JJ McCarthy or something like that at number 2, I would just be shocked, right? Because that's just really not a good pick. You know, Jaden Daniels is really ready to play now. And while the Commanders aren't really in like win now mode, I think that they're in a position where you put together a lot of good free agents. They have like 6 picks in the top 100 in the draft this year. And so there's still a lot to be said on what that's going to look like for them. Let me see if I can get this thing off my screen real quick, man. I'm really getting bugged by this. What are you guys seeing on the screen? Are you guys just seeing me or seeing this share tab? Because it's being super weird right now. I don't know what's going on with my computer. Even all my tabs are like zoomed in, all weird. That's what happens when you have an 8-year-old that you let play computer games. Sometimes he changes some weird settings and doesn't know what he did, right? Another piece of this article I wanted to talk about was, you know, Michael Penix Jr., right? Before, you know, and I said this before, but before, you know, the off season really started taking off and doing all this stuff, you know, I really saw a lot in Michael Penix Jr. I was actually, you can see my background. Okay. No, I'm just wondering if you can see me or if you can see this tab that's in between me and the screen, man. It's really weird. I can't even see myself on it right around. And I'm not being able to put any of the chats up because the screen is open. So I'm not really being able to click on anything. All right, but I'm gonna go back to that, right? Because you know, Michael Penix Jr. I was actually really kind of pumped when they lost to Michigan in the national championship, right? Because I really thought Michael Penix Jr. his draft stock's gonna drop because of that game, and it's gonna give us an opportunity to pick him up. I was really excited about that. And then all this buzz started hitting with Jane Daniels, right? And he mentioned Antonio Pearson and Marvin Lewis in the Heisman Trophy speech, right? And when he did that, it was like, dude, like I really think that there might be some connection here, right? There might be something to all this smoke. And so then I started looking into Jane Daniels, right? And he wasn't really on my radar at that point, but then it started becoming really clear to me, like, dang, like Jane Daniels is actually really good, right? And there's a lot of weird things, like, he kind of takes some big hits, he doesn't slide out of stuff very good, and he he does have some good accuracy. He doesn't have as good of a deep ball as Michael Penix Jr., but he has enough of a deep ball that I think it puts us in a good position, right? And so it really started gaining steam on me. And then I started really getting attached to not just Jane Daniels as a prospect, but more of his connection with Antonio Pierce and what that would look like, how that would translate in the locker room, how that would translate with the culture and all those kind of things. And, I started getting excited about Jane Daniels, right? And now it's been made pretty clear, right? I think there's a very slim chance that he falls past number 2 and we're able to trade up with the Patriots to get him. So now it's pretty clear that okay, this isn't gonna happen, right? And this isn't just some pipe dream of fans. Like, there was reports that went out that, yesterday, that the Raiders actually contacted the Commanders, tried to move up to number 2, and it just really didn't pan out. And so I don't know if it's them trying to drive up the price or if they just really don't want to move from 2 to 13, right? I know if we were in the number 2 spot, I really wouldn't want to be moving to 13. I'd be maybe thinking that, well, we could get all that draft capital and then maybe pick up on Michael Penix Jr. at 13, or use some of that capital to move back up to get a Michael Penix. Kevin Gibson, man, I see you, Michael Penix, right? And I seen you in the comments. You've been talking about Michael Penix Jr., man, and I really think that might be our best option moving forward. But I also want to hear from you guys. What other prospects are you looking at, right? Is Michael Penix your number 1, or like, did you have him above Jaden Daniels? Did you maybe have Michael Penix as your number 2? If we can't get Jane Daniels, then you're going to go ahead and move forward with him. What does that look like? I think that there's also a couple other good options that aren't quarterback for us. Man, I really wish I could get this thing off my screen so I could put the chat up, man. It's not letting me click on anything. All right, well, I'm just going to have to roll forward with that. So yeah, so Fuaga at 13 and come up for Penix. Navman, 93 Navman. Man, I always see you over there on Raiders Report and with Graphic and Wasted, man. It's good to see you in the chat. I'm glad you're here, man. Let's see. Raider Ryan, I like Penix now even more with his letter to GMs. If you weren't able to get Daniels, if we weren't able to get Daniels, I would take him at 13. I don't think he will fall to the second. And honestly, man, like that letter that he wrote out, what I heard was just a lot of heart. I really think that he's going to go out there and give it his all. I know that there were some other content creators that were saying that was kind of like a desperation move, oh, they're not looking at me and I need to put out something to get them to look at me. And they said other quarterbacks aren't doing that. But really, I mean, where I stand is like the dude's got some heart, right? He's got some skill. And despite his injury history, like he wouldn't be the only player with these kind of injuries to come into the NFL and then have a really successful career. So, I really think that Michael Penix is a great pick for us. Honestly, he's number 2 on my draft board, but that doesn't mean that that's bad if we miss on Jane Daniels and then we go and get him, and I definitely, Ryan, I don't think he's going to fall to the second. I really think that Michael Penix Jr., he might even go in the top 10. I put a video a couple weeks ago that was talking about like all these different teams that need a quarterback, right? Because, I mean, first you got the Bears, right? And then you got the Commanders, and then you got the Patriots, and then on top of that, Chargers, I could actually see them doing a move where they picked up a JJ McCarthy and then sat him for maybe a year or 2 under Justin Herbert, got him up to NFL speed. And then at that point, if I disappear for a minute, just know I'm running to the bathroom and throw up. uh, and if the Chargers get him up to NFL speed, then they could move on from Justin Herbert and get rid of that huge contract, and then have Jim Harbaugh's guy, right? And then we got the Giants. They're I'm sure they're looking to move on from Daniel Jones, right? I think the Falcons probably wouldn't really pick up a quarterback because of Kirk Cousins, but they could be looking to sit somebody for a couple years under Kirk Cousins. That way they could move on from that huge contract and have their guy of the future, and then what's that, number 8? We got the Jets, right? They just got rid of Zach Wilson and they traded him over to the Broncos. And that tells me that, the Jets have an open quarterback slot that they want to fill, because Aaron Rodgers, he's been like all over the place and he might not really stick around very long. And they're going to want to get a guy to sit under him, kind of like Jordan Love sat under Aaron Rodgers. That way they could groom him for the future. And then the Broncos, I don't think that they're going to move forward with Zach Wilson and Jared Stidham. I think that they're going to still want to pick up a quarterback, but they're just trying to have a contingency plan, kind of like how we picked up Gardner Minshew. Like, in case I can't get a quarterback, I got a guy that I can start. Vikings, you think we'll trade up for JJ 93 Nav, man? Sorry, I can't put your stuff on the screen, man. I'm just really having trouble here. Oh wait, there's a comment before yours. I'm gonna hit it. So Doctor, will Mark Davis veto Telesco? Because we know how the Davises get with some crazy picks. That could happen. I have a feeling that the reason that they took a swing for the number 2 pick is that Mark Davis is telling Tom Telesco, like, look, I want you to go out and try to get AP's guy, and we're not going to hold it against you if it's a flop, right? I really think that that's what they're doing right now. So 93 Navman, Vikings, I think, trade up for JJ or May. Chargers need a wide receiver terribly. Yeah, they do. Seattle will not go QB in the first. I don't think that I think that the Vikings are going to look to trade up, but they might be able to just sit where they are. Really, Vikings are probably the most likely to trade up to that number 3 or number 4 spot to be able to pick up either a DJ or a Drake May, right? It just depends on how the draft board falls. And I don't think that we're going to see any trades until tomorrow when the draft starts, because I think that teams are going to want to see what the Commanders do, because really that's when the draft is going to start, right? Whatever the Commanders do, everybody's going to have to do a little shift after that. I think everybody's anticipating that they're going to get Jane Daniels, and if that's the case, then they can move forward with the board as they have it. But if that's not the case, and they pick up a Drake May, then I think that there's going to be a shift that happens for many teams. Chargers definitely need a wide receiver, and since they have Justin Herbert in place, I don't know, man. Harbaugh is really talking Justin Herbert up, but it could all just be to make it clear that he's not trying to move on from him. That way, when he does make a trade, the stock doesn't just tank on him. Raider Ryan, he was speaking facts. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. He's already made it through that mentality, speaks volumes on his maturity and that deep ball. Oh, Michael Penix Jr. Yeah, dude. I mean, the mentality and the heart is, I think, a huge part of the game, right? Being able to come in and actually have that is going to be the make or break, right? We all saw with Jamarcus Russell, right? He had the intangibles. He had, a great college career. He came into the NFL and he wasn't that guy, right? And I think a lot of that had to do with that heart really wasn't in it. And he just doesn't have that mentality that you're talking about with Michael Penix Jr. So really, Michael Penix Jr. is one of those guys that I've thought, probably, I mean, ever since I saw Michael Penix Jr. play at all, is like, man, this guy is going to have a good career in the NFL. Now, I don't think Michael Penix Jr. is going to be a top 5 quarterback ever, right? I don't really think he's going to be that guy, right? I could see him definitely being in the top 15 and maybe even in the top 10. There's a lot of good stuff that comes from Michael Penix Jr. Mike, stay on course. Offensive line, cornerback, or wide receiver if one of the big 3 drops. You take Bowers if he is there. That's the thing that not a lot of people are talking about, right? Where our wide receiver room is not very deep right now. I mean, we got Devontae Adams, we got Jacoby Myers, we got DJ Turner. Man, this other guy's name, he's one of my favorite players right now, actually. Number 11, tell me his name. I'm missing it, man. My mind's going blank. Maybe not. But really, we only have a handful of quarterbacks on our roster right now. I think we're only and then Christian Wilkinson's. Trey Tucker, thank you, Nav man. Jeez, I couldn't get that name out of my brain to save my life. And I love Trey Tucker, man. I think he's really gonna have a way bigger year this season. But yeah, I mean, our wide receiver room lacks depth. And then to bring in another starter, if you have somebody like a Roma Dunze or a Malik Neighbors or something like that fall because of a run on quarterbacks, you know, honestly, you grab him. Devontae Adams, he's getting older, he's getting slower. His contract is a little insane, and there's things like that. But definitely offensive line and cornerback. I personally wouldn't go in that order. I like Fuaga a lot, but man, Keon, I don't know how to say his first name, man. Kenyon Mitchell is just like his presence, his authority, 18 PBUs, man. I mean, he's not really known for getting a lot of picks, but he's really disruptive in the passing game. If you have him on one side and Jack Jones on the other, man, nobody's really going to be able to put up high numbers against that kind of defense, And if we really stack this defense, then we can roll forward with AOC, we can roll forward with a Gardner Minshew, and see what that really brings for us. As far as Bowers, though, Bowers is good, man. I like Michael Mayer. I don't think that Harrison Bryant is really our guy for the future, but there's a lot going on there. Ernest, glad you made it. Glad you made it, man. 6 or 7 QB in the first 12 picks. So we picked Jared versus Edge with Wilkins at DT. Sounds crazy. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past them to throw somebody else on the defensive line, especially because Malcolm Kuntz is coming on a contract year. And he's going to probably get paid. And so we might not, pay him. Also, Adam Butler and John Jenkins, they're only on a 1-year deal. So we might go that route, but I'd like to see them go at that maybe a little bit later if they do. Bowers and Mayer together would be very hard to plan against. 93 Navman, you're not wrong on that, man. That would be insane. Western Conference, salute Raider Nation, man. I'm glad you're in the building. Anybody that just jumped on, I'm not putting things on the screen from the chat because I'm just really not being able to. Something's going on with my computer, and I got this thing in front of me, so I'm not even being able to scroll through the chat or do anything, and I am not being able to get it to stop. And since I'm live, man, I'm not trying to mess with everything and end up jumping off. So Western Conference, I'm glad you're here. If we don't trade up, Penix or Bo Nix will be our QB. Prefer Penix all day over Bo, though. If we don't get a QB in the first, it will be CB offensive line. Can't wait until tomorrow. Man, I'm so excited. And honestly, Bo Nix, while he is a good QB, it makes me think a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Somebody pointed out that he's like a Jimmy Garoppolo, and I didn't really see it at first, but I started looking, and there was like a lot of check downs, and he doesn't really have that big arm that the Raiders typically like. And man, I could just see like flashbacks of like, them just stacking the box and stopping our run game and knowing that our quarterback can't make that deep ball. And that went ugly for us in the first part of the season, man. And I'd hate to see that again, man. I would really hate to see that again. Navman thinks that Bowers is going to go to the Jets, right? And honestly, I think that would be a good move on their part. They're kind of lacking in the tight end department, and they just picked up Mike Williams from the Chargers, and that dude's going to get hurt on that turf, and so they're going to need some more help out there in the receiving game, man. Quinyon Mitchell. All right, there we go, Nav, man. Thank you for that. All right, Raider Ryan, I can't wait to see our young pup Mayer develop into the star tight end he can be. He showed some promise last year. And a lot of what I saw going on with him is like, I think Josh McDaniels was just overcomplicating everything, right? And these rookies came in and were kind of like freezing up and having some trouble. We saw a lot of our rookies struggling. Tyree Wilson was struggling, Jacorian Bennett was struggling. It's like Trey Tucker even seemed like he was, having some trouble holding on, getting those balls sturdy, pause if necessary, when he was running out of bounds and things, and he had a couple of catches called back because of that. So I really think that, towards the end of the season, we got to see Mayer kind of show up in a better way. And I think that that's going to really, he's going to make that jump for this next year, and I'm really excited to see that. Let's see. James Raiders. Come on, let's go, dude. I'm getting excited for this draft, man. That's like the NFL fans Christmas, right? It's like we get to like just see like what presents get to get opened up. And I think that like last year, when they picked up Tyree Wilson in the first round, I had watched some tape on him and I liked him, but I was like, nah, like this guy's maybe number 4 on my board, right? And I was like hurt, man. Wasted Talent had a great reaction, man. I thought that was funny, but and I really think that he's gonna develop and he's gonna show a lot of promise. He was thrown in a situation where he was injured. He wasn't supposed to play very much. Chandler Jones was supposed to be that guy, and he was going to play behind Chandler Jones and then really move in this season into some more playing time. And I think that we're going to see that moving forward too. Let's see. Drop kick sucks. It really helps young QBs if they have good skill players around them. And that's one of the things I've been seeing, right? Is that a lot of people are saying trade Devontae Adams to move up and get Jaden Daniels, right? And while I wouldn't be like, because the only person that's off limits is Max Crosby, flat out. But if we moved on from Devontae Adams to going to Jaden Daniels, for one, Devontae Adams, like he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, right? And I think that he still has a lot of good years in him. Over the last 2 seasons, he still put up really good production, and he played under 5 different quarterbacks in 2 seasons. Like that's ridiculous to put a wide receiver through that, And I really think that because of his level of talent, he was really able to show up anyway. I saw this stat go out. Forget who put it out, but Devontae Adams had the most uncatchable balls thrown to him, pause if necessary, last season, right? The most uncatchable out of any receiver. And that's a really sad statistics for us to have. So, yeah, like we really need a young QB to have players around him. And one of the things that I put out there a couple weeks ago was if we really are attached to moving up, and the Commanders might listen a little bit more because they need a left tackle if we're willing to move on from Kolton Miller, right? And at first, people gave me a lot of pushback and they said, like, no, why would we do that? Then we would just need a left tackle. Well, Thayer Mumford really showed up pretty well as a left tackle. And right now with Kolton Miller, he's like 28, right? And so he's still pretty young, but he's at that point where I think he's really reached his peak. And he had that shoulder injury, and my fear is that we're going to do the Raider thing where then he has a really down year this year where he misses playing time, and then try to move on from him at that point, and then he's lost all value. So it's kind of like a sell high kind of scenario. And if we moved on from Kolton Miller, I think it would be easier to get into that top 3, and I wouldn't be entirely shocked if they're considering that if Jaden falls to number 3 for a trade, right? I think that really going draft picks is the way to go, because if Kolton Miller continues to perform at a high level, we're going to want him to protect a young QB or Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew for that matter. So I really hope that he continues to play at a high level. Navman, Mayer's ability to block key as well. Yeah, man. And then he has that ability to go up and get, man, you guys keep trying to set me up for the pause, man, but go up and get those high balls in the end zone, right? And when you got a tight end that can really do that and he's got that power to him, I really think that he's going to show out this year. Ernest, drop from 13 to 18, get extra picks for defense at 18, verse defensive line, then 44 DeJean 49 O linemen. Now, DeJean, I haven't really watched that much tape on him. I've heard what other people have said about him, and really that he's kind of like a hybrid safety corner kind of guy, even linebacker is what I was hearing. And I watched like a little bit of clips on him, but I haven't really gone too much in depth. He is coming off that injury, but supposedly he's supposed to be healthy. But moving back from 13 to 18, I really think that there's going to be some really good players still on the board. And if we could pick up like at least an extra second um, to move back like that, I don't see why not, especially if we were able to move from 13 to 18 and still pick up a Michael Penix Jr. I don't think he's going to stay that long, but really behind us, there's not many teams that would pick up a quarterback. So if Telesco really feels confident that somebody like if we have Penix available at 13 and he trades back, it's going to be a little scary because I think that we should just pick him up at 13 if that's the case. But if Telesco is feeling confident, I could see him moving back, in order to pick up some extra draft capital and still get his guy. Navman, Luke Getsy's offense is full out West Coast style, which requires tight ends and running backs to chip and block, release and find space, much like Shanahan's style offense. And like really, Luke Getsy didn't do very good over there with the Bears, and a lot of people were kind of flipping out, like, "Oh no, we picked up Luke Getsy, like we're gonna have this awful offense." But really, even though the Bears were deemed to have been doing terrible, they're not drafting number one because they're the worst team. In fact, they finished 8-9, right? Or was it 7-9? It might have been 7-10. You guys let me know exactly what they finished at, but they actually had a pretty good run, especially at the end of the year. And Luke Getsy, he was coaching for the Green Bay Packers when Davante Adams was over there, and I see that there could be a lot of good usage of Adams, especially in the slot, because of that. See, this is why Justin Fields didn't fit that offense. Man, Navman, you probably put that a couple of minutes ago, and I'm not really sure what's the connection on Justin Fields not fitting that offense, man. I think 93 Navman is a Raiders junkie like me, man. In every single live chat, I see Navman in there. Let's see, they got the first rounder from the Panthers for Bryce Young. Yeah, man. And that's an awful trade, and that's why a lot of people are afraid to trade up, because it could put us in a position like that, even though we have a much better team to build around than that. Let's see, Raider Eye, and this draft is deep in O-line, cornerback, and wide receiver. We need to build our O-line for whoever we have back there. Yep. No, we definitely do, man. Whether we pick up a guard or a tackle, whether it's a first, second, third, even fourth round, like I just want us to put some depth in that room because the guys that we have some pretty good guys on the line, but there's a couple guys in there that just really they're not good in the power game. And I think that that's what we really need to add is somebody in those middle three that can really take on that power. Let's see. Felix, salute, man. Welcome. Davante Adams is the next Raiders Hall of Famer. He has to finish his career as a Raider. Just saying. Go Raiders. Yeah, man. I think that Davante Adams, he wants to be here. I think that this regime wants him to be here. I really don't see us in a position where we end up moving on from him, man. I really don't. And I know a lot of people are saying he won't be here the following season, but really, I mean, yeah, he's projected to be at like 44 million a year at that point. They're going to restructure his contract. I think Telesco is going to work some magic over there. Actually, I don't even think Telesco is in charge of that. I think that somebody else in the Raiders handles that, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, I really think that they're going to restructure him and really limit his cap hit, and we might pay him for a couple of years after he's gone from here. But I think that they'll be smart about it. I really do. See, he returns Ernest. He returns punt, covers punt. He's a special steamer and covers great. Cooper DeJean is better than a triple threat. He's good all-around player. And that's probably part of why he's injured. Honestly, I don't know too much about his injury history or how he got injured, but I know that, those players that really get out there and do, that true threat kind of stuff tend to, take on a lot of injury concerns as well. Let's see. Navman, Justin Fields does not fit the Getsy offense, is what I meant. Fields will be good in this league RPO offense. And that's a weird one with the Steelers, right? Like, I actually was saying, let's go get Justin Fields, and the Raiders did contact them. And what happened was they wanted too much when we called them. And so Telesco went out and got Gardner Minshew, and everybody was kind of shocked by that. But Gardner Minshew, he's a good quarterback, man. I saw a thing where they compared his stats to Trevor Lawrence, and it was like pretty comparable, man. But yeah, I mean, I would have loved to get Fields. I think Fields would have done pretty good in Vegas. I don't think that he would have been like a top 10 quarterback if we had got him, but I think that he would have been really good. And I would have liked to see Justin Fields, Gardner Minshew, and AOC battle it out and see who gets it, right? Because they'd all be on the cheap. Um, Let's see, Raider Ryan. I know it's hindsight now, but I was hoping we would get Wilson for the minimum, playing the donkeys twice a year, having them pay millions for our QB. Man, that would just be funny, And I honestly, I didn't want Russell Wilson because of locker fit issues and things like that. But to get him on the cheap like that, yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially to have our division rival, having to pay the bill on that. Man, that would make me happy. Dropkick socks, Walmart Broncos, exactly, man. All right, so let's see. That would have been the only reason for Wilson. Yeah, man, that would have been the only real reason because honestly, I think Wilson's career is done. I think that he's going to end up sitting behind Justin Fields, and he's going to help Fields become the quarterback that he needs to be. And I think that that's why they paired those two quarterbacks together. Some people have said that it's kind of a similar style of play, and that if Justin Fields could get some good play behind Russell Wilson, that he could really learn to be that guy. Um, let's see, who else? How about Spencer Rattler, man? We got any Spencer Rattler fans in the chat? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. I'm not really a Spencer Rattler fan. Uh, and honestly, if we picked him up higher than the third or fourth round, I would be pretty upset about that. Honestly. Let's see. So Navman. So Sean Payton thinks the better Wilson is Zach. He got lucky with Drew Brees, and that's it. I honestly and I don't know if you were here when we are talking about Zach Wilson, Navman, but I think that Zach Wilson was one of those contingency kind of pickups, right? Kind of like how we picked up Garner Minshew, because we picked up Garner Minshew, and that's more of like in case we don't get a quarterback, then we have a serviceable quarterback that can play and can get some wins. And I think that's what Zach Wilson is going to be for the Broncos. I would love for that to be his starter rolling into the season. I mean, I would love that. Super Bowl Wilson to mommy's boy Wilson. Man, man, there's some really good memes out there, man. I've been really enjoying the memes I've been seeing about Zach Wilson. And there's even one where they have him looking like a Denver dude, right? And his hair is all ratty and he's got the beard, and it's like, what is it? Wook Zach Wilson or something like that, man. It was great. Nah, man, I like Rattler in the fourth or early fifth, and me too. And honestly, I don't think he's going to be there that far. Raider Ryan would prefer Jordan Travis over Rattler in the late rounds. Jordan Travis probably stands a better chance at being there that late in the draft because injury concerns. Um, and like I saw a live yesterday where Wasted Talent was saying like, oh, don't just like watch highlights on Rattler and think that you're getting everything out of there. And there's like a lot of good other things that don't show up on that. But like, it's hard for me, man, when I watch highlights on a player and I don't even like the highlights. It's like, oh God, if this is the good stuff, like I would hate to see the bad. And I know highlights aren't everything, right? But it's like when I watch Rattler's highlights, I saw a lot of oh, I don't really like his motion. I didn't really like his pocket presence. Some of them throws were just like that was whatever. And it's like, Jesus, if this is the best he's putting out, like I don't know what his ceiling really could be in the NFL. Um, but yeah, man, and Jordan Travis, man, that injury, the thing that scares me about getting a Jordan Travis, and I know Raider D has been talking him up, and that really got me into looking more into Jordan Travis because, I've said it before, but I don't watch a lot of college football, right? And so like once they start gaining steam around the draft, I start like watching some highlights, I start watching some tape where I can find some tape breakdowns and things like that. And Jordan Travis, he's good. He's really good. And I could see him actually being a pretty serviceable quarterback in the NFL. But after that injury, one, I don't think he'd play this year. I think he'd have to sit for a year. And then, like, we all saw what happened when Derek Carr broke his leg, and then he was just never the same quarterback after that. And, I would be concerned to pick up Jordan Travis just based on that alone. Let's see. Nabman saying if he's there in the late fourth, pull the trigger. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if either Rattler or Jordan Travis is there in like the fourth, early fifth, yeah, I'd say get him. Pick them up. Especially depending on what we build in those first couple of picks. If we really start to stack that offensive line, it's like, yeah, man, pick them up. Let them battle it out with Gardner Minshew and AOC, and let the best man win. And really, that's what's going to be the kicker is that whoever is our starter this year is going to be absolutely our best option, right? We're not going to have one of those guys like Aiden O'Connell's not just in this position where it's like, oh, it's just given to him and he's going to be the starter, right? Like they've made it very clear there's going to be a battle for quarterback, and it's like let the best man win, and that makes me feel really good to know that like even if we roll forward to Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, and it's between the two of them, it's like we're going to get the best man for the job. Now we already know what Gardner Minshew has, right? He's played plenty. There's plenty of tape on him. Aiden O'Connell, I don't think that we've really gotten to see the full picture, especially like those last games. His stats were really, really good. His stats overall didn't shake out that great because, I mean, the little bit of play that he got under Josh McDaniels, it was awful. It really was. Let's see. Before that injury, Jordan Travis was clearly the best QB in the ACC. And yeah, Raider Ryan, I agree with you too, man, that hopefully he can come back mentally from that. But kid seems headstrong, and he really does. And one of the things I like to watch when I watch, like when I'm trying to like look at a prospect and get a feel on them, one of the big kickers for me is interviews. When you watch an interview of somebody and they just seem, for lack of a better word, dumb, it's like, I don't know about this guy. It's like, and I know some people just have the gift of gab and they can talk really well and present themselves really well for the media, but then they don't really have it together mentally when it comes down to making reads on defenses and watching tape and learning and growing, right? But if somebody really has awful press interviews, it's like it really kind of discourages me from that person. Let me see. Ernest, 70 years young, I'm drafting a bunny ranch hot chick. There we go, Ernest. You're gonna be like my dad, man. My dad, he's 68, and right now he's with a girl I went to high school with. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. He thinks it's a good thing for sure. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, especially on Thanksgiving, man. um Let's see, Felix. Nothing been said about the linebacker position. What's your opinion on Edgerrin Cooper and Peyton Wilson? Man, I love both of those linebackers, right? And I have a feeling that Antonio Pierce does too. Being that he was a UDFA and ended up being a star linebacker, right? So he might not be looking to pick up a linebacker in the second round, but really, I like Diablo. I love Robert Spillane. Luke Masterson is okay. And Amari Burney, he was all right, and so really, if we brought in a star linebacker like that, and Divine Diablo falls to linebacker number 3, I wouldn't be upset, man, really, because then we'd just be stacked. If you get past our defensive line, well, you're not getting past our linebackers. A guy that is kind of a sleeper in this draft, he played for Mississippi, Nathaniel Watson, right? And this guy, he got my attention because when I was doing some mock drafts, he kept showing up in like the 6th and 7th round, and I kept seeing his name. And my son's name is Nathan, right? And so it stood out to me. So I started looking up some stuff on him, and this guy, he had 10 sacks. It's like, as a linebacker having 10 sacks and he's falling that late in the draft, it's like, what's going on with him? And so I couldn't really find too much tape on him. I watched some highlights, which looked good, but if any of you guys know more about Emmanuel Watson from Mississippi, let me know, man. I'm really interested in that prospect, and especially being able to pick up a really good linebacker in the late rounds would be amazing, especially if he falls to UDFA. Let's see. Yeah, Jordan Travis fits the Raider identity, and that's a huge one, right? And AP's made it clear, Tom Telesco has made it clear, if they don't fit us, then it's whatever, right? And a player could have all the skill in the world, but if they are not a good fit for your culture, for your regime, it's all for nothing, man. It's really all for nothing. Space Beast, what's up, man? Dang, man, I'm starting to see all you guys in here. That's cool, man. Welcome to the chat. Salute Space Beast, man. 13 trade with Rams, 19 and 52. Rams take Latu or Murphy. 19, we take Penix, 44 Leggett, and Edrin Cooper. 52 Haynes, 77 Jalen Wright. Woo, man, Space Beast, let him cook. Man, that I would be so happy with that, right? Honestly, that would be a hard one for me to gauge against. If we actually got to trade up and get Jane Daniels, I think I'd be happier. But as far as our team being better, geez, man, with a Michael Penix, Leggett, or Cooper, Christian Haynes at guard, I would love if we picked that up, right? Because we really have struggled to lock down a good right guard, man. And then add a good running back, right? And our running game, you know, I think it's going to be good for this year, but we really need to start looking for picking up a second guy for the future. And I don't know if we're going to do that in this draft or if we're going to wait until next draft. I know that there's some pretty good running backs in the later rounds, and so I'm interested to see what happens with that, man. Uh, oh, your dad's a player. Yeah, my dad, he's a trip, man. I love my dad, man, but he likes them fast women. He does, man. Let's see. Raider Ryan, I love Nate Hobbs, but you know what I'm saying. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying, man. When it comes to interviews, that's not his thing. But the dude, he has an eyeball for being able to just spot out what's going to happen, how the play is going to unfold. Like that dude, he's got a brain on him. He just, sometimes like my brother, right? My brother is a genius. The dude is very smart, but when it's coming from his brain out his mouth, it doesn't really work quite as well. Let's see. Yeah, we need an explosive linebacker for sure, man. If we're able to walk away from this draft with another linebacker, another cornerback, and somebody on the offensive line, if we can get a starter at all three of those levels, I mean, we got a team, man. We got a team that I feel like offense isn't quite as important as defense right now, but man, like if we can upgrade at the quarterback position, like it's a no-brainer. For sure, no-brainer. See, Watson linebacker is a stud and not getting much hype. Exactly, Space Beast, man. And for him not getting much hype, I think that puts us in a position where we can really get him at a good spot, right? And like, you know, I hate to see players get overdrafted, right? But I love to see players get underdrafted. If you can pick up somebody in a later round compared to their talent, that's a no-brainer for me, man. Let's see, I think it's an inability to pass cover. JT. man. Nav man, I'm late. I'm on the late show on that comment, man. Let me know what you're talking about. It's the Nav man. It's very cool to tune in and see how many players are in the building at Allegiant every day. When they do not have to be there. Exactly, man. And I think that they're really following suit with Max Crosby. And I think that some of those guys would probably be there anyway. But Max Crosby's leading the charge on that, right? And that's some exciting stuff, right? What we have right now is a locker room full of players that are excited to be there. And that's the complete opposite of what we had with Josh McDaniels, man. And so that dude does really eat corn a long way, man. It's like they should have got rid of him so much sooner, but it is what it is, right? That is what it is. And honestly, I'm glad that we didn't get a CJ Stroud last year, right? Because I would have loved to see us get CJ Stroud. He's not one of those guys that I was as hyped about, like as with Jaden Daniels, right? But I knew watching some tape on him, this guy's going to be a difference maker. But if we had picked him up, then we'd probably still be stuck with Josh McDaniels, and that's nasty work. I would trade CJ Stroud for Antonio Pierce any day of the week. Let's see. Ernest dropping 5 spots. You can get Kool-Aid, Wilson, Barton. Yeah, man. And really, like, that's why, Tom Telesco was talking about like the possibilities of moving up and getting aggressive if we need to, if we see it fit, holding pat at 13, or even moving back as long as it's not too far. And moving back to 18, I think that's probably the range that he's looking at, right? Because if we move back further than that, really we're shooting ourselves in the foot unless we just, get a crazy haul for it, right? Even then, we need at least a couple of starters out of those first couple of rounds. Let me see. Navman, I challenge any other team to average to the average amount in the house day to day that we'll see, man. Yeah, dude, exactly. Like I think that I don't think that there's many other teams that are having a bunch of players in the house every day like that, right? And I love to see that, right? Because like we need to know that these guys are football first. Um, you know, if I only showed up to my job, a couple of months out of the year and then I took a bunch of months off, like for me, if I take a vacation, right? And I'm off for a week, 2 weeks. When I get back to work, I'm like, wait, what do I do for a living again? And I'm like trying to get oriented to my office again and trying to remember, all the stuff that we do. And that's only after a couple of weeks, right? So to be gone for a couple of months, that could really, really have an effect on somebody. Let me see. The linebacker from Mississippi. Oh, okay. Pass cover is his down piece. Ah, man. Yeah. Okay. I knew he was going to have a downside. I just really didn't know what it was. And honestly, I haven't done that huge of a dive into him. I try not to get too attached to players before the draft because, like I'll see all the content creators saying these are the players. I'll be looking at the guys that I like. And then what actually comes out in the draft is like, none of the guys that we're looking at are on there. What's going on, And then I'm trying to learn all these new players, So I didn't really put too much into it this year. Let's see. An NFL linebacker that has lots of sacks typically doesn't cover well. Not everyone is Derek Brooks, and that's what I was thinking, right? Is that like, it's got to be more of a situational kind of thing where that's his strong suit. And so they put him in on certain plays or put him on assignment in certain plays. That way he can go out and make that kind of play specifically. And really, I would rather have somebody that's more of an all arounder. But really, with the defensive line that we have, I don't think that we're going to have to blitz nearly as much, and we're going to have a lot more pressure on the quarterback coming from those front four, right? But if you have somebody that can come in from the backfield and make those sacks, because let's face it, offensive lines are going to be really, really busy with our defensive line. So to have a linebacker rushing in for a sack, I think that's going to make a huge difference. Tom Davis, welcome, man, welcome. I would love to draft an Arnold or the guy from Toledo. Yeah, man. I mean, Arnold, Terrion Arnold, there was videos of AP meeting with him. They talk about his swagger, they talk about his presence, him being able to be a lockdown corner. And honestly, I think that they're pretty high on him. And if we stay at 13 and it's not Michael Penix Jr., it's probably going to be Terrion Arnold that we pick up at that point. Because I'm not really sure where else they would go if that were the case. And then Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. That dude he's a dog, man. That dude, I really like, the tape I watched on him, just his presence, just like his ability. Like, I remember being a kid, right? And I was probably like 10 or 11 years old. And my cousin was like 3 or 4 years older than me. He was a high school basketball player at the time. He went on to play college ball. And like, I just remember trying to throw up shots and just getting stuffed like hard, right? And that's what like it made me think of when I was watching Mitchell's tape. It's just like this dude was just like dominating these wide receivers, man. And I would love to see something like that. And he strikes me as the kind of personality that would mesh well with Jack Jones. Either that or they would hate each other, man. That would be a rough one, right? But I have a feeling it would be more, of that they really mesh well. And that's a big one, man. Is that you got to have people on your roster that really play good together, right? It's like if you have two people that clash off the field, they're not going to really mesh well on the field, right? And so that's something that they really have to look at, and that's what they've been talking about. Spillane will be better in coverage with Wilkins at DT. Yeah, Nav, man. I think you're exactly right on that. I think that Wilkins is going to really bring in a lot more run stopping, a lot more pressure on quarterbacks, a lot more hurries. And that's going to really open it up. And Spillane, that was the big knock on him, right? Is that he is not good in coverage. And a lot of people were like really worried about that. And, honestly, man, he showed out, man. He showed out. He proved us all wrong on that one. All right, Ernest. Okay, guys, if we gave up three first round picks, 3 second-round picks, plus a player to go up to number 2 spot for JD, you're only trading picks from college, use free agency as your draft known alpha players opposed to college guys. Yeah, I think that we would have to pick up some free agents. I think we'd end up with Xavier Howard. I think we'd end up with there's still a couple of guys out there that we could pick up as free agents to fill some of those holes, because really if we move up, we're going to really be hurting on the draft for a couple of years. But honestly, if we were to move up and Jaden Daniels was that guy, I don't think that we'd miss those picks that much. Navman, Robert Spillane spent most of his year having to try to stop the run. Wilkins will let him be a bit more free. Yeah, man. When you fill some of those holes, right? And like, let's face it, Jerry Tillery was a liability. He just straight up was. And when you're able to take out a liability like that and fill a hole, it just everybody else is better because of it. Oh, another CB to think about is Kyrie Jackson. Yeah, Felix, Kyrie Jackson is one of those guys that, I see him on some mocks going in the 3rd round, see him going in the 5th and others. I think it just depends on the simulator you use and what it looks like. But man, Kyrie Jackson is one of those guys. Look out. If we could pick him up, I don't care what round we pick him up. Well, especially not at 13. If we get him 3rd round or beyond, super happy with that pickup for sure. All right, Space Beast. I read a report that the Eagles 22 are interested in trading up with the Broncos for the 12th pick. Quinyon Williams, cornerback, as the target. I could see that happening. I think you mean Quinyon Mitchell, unless you're talking about 2 players right there, right? But yeah, I wouldn't doubt it if somebody like the Eagles were willing to move up and get Mitchell, at the number 12 pick. And I wouldn't be shocked at all. I don't really think the Broncos are looking to move back, but I mean, as it's looking, if the Broncos are actually interested in Bo Nix, which a lot of people are saying, I don't know if that's people hoping or saying, right? But if they really want a Bo Nix, they could move back to 22, pick up draft capital, pick up Bo Nix in the late first round. Hey, man, that might not be too bad for them. Um, let's see. Enjoy the content. Keep up the good work. Dropkick sucks. Salute, man. We'll catch you on the next one. Let's see. All right. Wilkins is better teammate than Chris Jones. Ever thought about being? We stole that dude. We straight up, we did steal that dude. I actually think it's really sad that Hunter Renfro didn't get to play with his best friend there in Vegas, man. Um, from my understanding, Hunter Renfro still hasn't gotten picked up. And if he doesn't get picked up, I wouldn't be too surprised if we brought him back on the cheap. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. Honestly, I could see him going to reunite with Derek Carr over there at the Saints. I don't really know because I don't follow them. But yeah, man. I mean, Chris Jones, there was a lot of talk about us getting Chris Jones, and I was a little bit worried about that because he's good. I know that I don't know, man. The thing that got me about Chris Jones is the addition by subtraction, right? Being able to take away from the Chiefs and then add him to our team, like that one's really good, right? But Christian Wilkins, I don't know, man. Honestly, I think I'm happier about that. Because he's gonna be such a good fit with Max Crosby, like on and off the field. And I really could see those two guys really, really like just pumping each other up and just having phenomenal, phenomenal years to come, man. Let's see, Space Beast, Kyrie, Cam, Andrew, Elijah Jones, I think. CBs are deep this year, and they really are, man. There's a lot of those later, third, fourth, fifth round CBs that I think what's his name? I want to say it's Johnny Dixon also is back there. There's a lot of good CBs later on. I really think that Jacorian Bennett is going to be better than a lot of those guys. I think that Jacorian Bennett's going to step up this year. I think that we're going to see a lot of good things out of him. He's going to be, I think, less nervous. He's going to have to step into that role if we don't pick up a true quarterback one. So I could definitely see that happening. But yeah, Kyrie, Cam Hart is another one of those guys I'd love to see. Andrew, I don't know who Andrew is, man. What's Andrew's full name, man? I definitely want to look into him. And Q Mitchell, yeah, and definitely Q Mitchell. Let's see, Navman, I think our back end will not have to have crazy depth with the D line, as good as it makes the DB's life way easier. And that's so true, man. When you got a quarterback that can't spend, all this time in the pocket, because we saw a lot of plays this last season where, I was just like, God, like how much time does this quarterback have to throw? And of course, they're going to make a play, and so when you really put that pressure, they gotta get the ball off quick, and they tend to make more mistakes, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Let's see. I love Toto for snagging just Wilkins, baby. Toto. Toto. 2.2 seconds QB. Good luck. Yeah, exactly, man. And when we put Christian Wilkins right next to Max Crosby, that's going to be insane, right? Because there's too many plays where I saw Max Crosby give up the edge to try to get inside to make a play. And then all the quarterback had to do was roll out to the right, freed them up. They'd either, run for a first down or, they'd run to the side, make a throw. And it was really nasty to see that, right? So with Christian Wilkins right there next to Max, he's going to be able to lock down the edge and really stay on the outside more. And, the fastest way to the quarterback is straight, right? When you don't have to run around that offensive line, you can run straight to him. Oof, man, nasty work. Look out for that one. That lends itself to linebackers being good in coverage. Exactly. The linebackers are going to do better because of it. The cornerbacks are going to do better because of it. And honestly, man, I'm getting excited, man. Who else you guys looking at? Let's talk about maybe wide receivers. Let's talk about a position group that we haven't already talked about. Heck, we haven't even really talked too much about offensive line. What are some of the players that you guys would like to see coming up in this draft? Go and check out how many juniors are jumping into this draft. Can you say money hungry? And something else that's coming out of this draft is because of the COVID year, there's a lot of players that also stayed in college for a lot longer. So they're a lot more developed than some of the other players that have come out. Brendan Rice, DNA. So Brendan Rice, man, is one of those guys. There's a lot of the players that are coming into this year's draft that they have dads who were also NFL players, right? Some of them were NFL greats. And I think that counts for a lot, because when you have somebody that has family who's already been in the NFL, they know what it takes to be successful at the NFL level. McCaffrey's another one. Same with Frank Gore Jr., Trotter. What happens is not only do they have knowledge going into it on what it takes to be successful at the NFL level, but also they've grown up. They've grown up with a lot more resources than a lot of these players. You take somebody like Josh Jacobs, who, lived in a car at one point. He didn't have nearly as much resources into the NFL, right? So when you have somebody that has a lot of those resources to go to those camps, to go learn behind big name people, it's like that person is more likely to succeed in the NFL in my eyes than somebody who didn't have all those things. Andrew Phillips, there we go. Cornerback from Kentucky, dominated the Senior Bowl. Toto is my name for Tom Telesco. Oh, okay. So yeah, Andrew Phillips, as far as dominating the Senior Bowl, I know that they said Quinyon Mitchell was the best player on the field, and it wasn't even close. But yeah, Andrew Phillips is another one of those guys, man. If I'm correct, he's more projected like 4th round. Is that correct? I haven't really watched any tape on him. I'm gonna have to check him out. Let's see. Everyone knows what Annie McCaffrey is. The thing about McCaffrey is, his dad played for the Broncos, man. So I don't know if that's good or bad for us to pick him up. That might be I think that might piss his dad off. But, sometimes, depending on how the relationship is, sometimes that's good. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Tom, would you trust picking the big tackle out of ND in the 2nd round with drafting Penix in the 1st? The big tackle. Oh, what's his name, man? What's his name? ND. North Dakota? Tom, let me know. Put his name in the chat if you're able to pull it up, man. I'm interested in that. Ray Davis, man. So Ray Davis, he wasn't really on my radar, man. Graphic Raider was talking about him one day, man. And so I started watching some tape on him, and that dude, I'm surprised that he's projected to go in the 3rd, because he's good, man. I saw a lot of good things out of him. I saw a lot of ability to just be a power back. I also saw, he was pretty shifty for his build as well. Yeah, man. I mean, Ray Davis. If we picked up Ray Davis, I'd definitely be thinking that they're looking at him being running back 1 and then putting Zeus behind him for the future. But we really haven't seen what's going to come from Zeus, right? He had like those last 4 games. He broke out. He showed us a lot of things that we thought we weren't going to get from him. And, I'm really interested to see what's going to end up coming from Zeus this year, because either he's going to come in and just ball out, or he's going to start fumbling again, or just really not end up being that guy. I have a feeling that he's actually going to do pretty good. Especially Luke Getsy, man. I think that they're going to set up some good running game for him. I'm really interested to see what happens. Ray Davis reminds me of Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch, man, that dude was a dog. I mean, just that's like, I kind of like to compare him to Derrick Henry a little bit, just because of size and ability to just like throw people around in the backfield. And that's, oof, man, that would be nasty. I would love to pick up a Ray Davis. I think that our running game is one of those things that if we're going to roll forward with Aiden O'Connell or Garner Minshew, I think that we need to start addressing the run game since now. I think if we pick up a Michael Penix Jr. or a Jaden Daniels, we might be able to hold off on drafting a running back this year, depending on how the board falls, and maybe wait until next year. So look, guys, we've been in here a little bit more than an hour. I'm going to go ahead and jump off. You know, I'm glad that all you guys were here today. I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe. Yeah, man, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. That's funny. I'm over here saying bye to you guys, and I can't even get off the live. My computer is froze up. Definitely froze up. That's funny. Well, guys, look, I guess I'm stuck with you. You guys want to talk about some more stuff? You guys got some more stuff you want to talk about? Oh man. Nav man, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I've been a little bit nervous about going live because it's very new to me and I don't really know the ins and outs of it yet. Um, Obviously, my computer's freezing up and not letting me even close the live. So, there's going to be some issues like that to work out. But yeah, man, I'm really just what it is, man. I'm not a football expert. I'm just a Raiders fan, man, and I love this so much. I love the Raiders, and I like to get in here and talk with you guys and see what's your opinion. What's going on with you guys. How do you guys feel about certain situations? Because I'm always open to learning. I'm not one of those fans that's over here thinking that I know everything or that I have the best opinion on things because that's not what it's like for me, man. Jeez. Ernest, I always see you in the comments, man. You've been on a couple lives already. I'm glad for the support, man. Help me out for a new computer, man. It's funny because my computer is actually pretty new, man. I only got it a couple months ago. Probably like in February, and I don't know what's going on, man. What I'm worried about, man, is if I hard close this, if it's just gonna delete the stream from YouTube, and I don't want that. So I don't really know. Man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Let's see. Hmm. Oh man. Well, I'm gonna have to figure this out, or I won't, man. Before I cast clear all the BS. You know, Now that I opened up my stuff, what I saw was that the Xbox app was still open, and my kid had a game open. So I have a feeling that really is jamming up the works. I'm just really not sure what to do to get my screen back, man. It's frozen. So I mean, this live might just kind of go away, man. Yeah, shut down the computer. I'm probably just gonna have to go into Task Manager and end task. I would prefer for this live to stay available on YouTube, but I might not have any control over that, honestly. Let's see what's going on here. Maybe if I actually go to YouTube. Yeah, I use StreamYard. So I'm trying to log in on my phone to see if maybe that's what's going on. I'm feeling like I'm having a wasted talent moment, right? And I'm not even on the get off my yard gang. I'm only 36, man. I'm having a boomer moment. Let me see. What is going on? Let's see. It's Lenovo, so it's Windows, man. Windows. Felix, man. Murphy, man. If Byron Murphy, that would just be like unfair. That's just super unfair. Talk about dominating, man. Jeez. Yeah, this is a weird problem to have, guys. That's for sure. Appreciate you guys sticking around while I try to figure out how to end the live, man. Let's see. Ooh, I might be able to get in here. Might be able to get it on my phone. Maybe I can end the live on my phone. Look at that. Double up. All right. I think I figured it out. Slew Nation. I'll catch you guys on the next one.